guys, so today I am bringing you my just general thoughts on the latest Hobbit movie and in general the Hobbit movie franchise. I saw it on Friday and I'm filming this on Monday morning. I gave myself a couple days to think and go over my thoughts on it. This is not going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen it yet, please come back and watch this later. Also heads up, this is not going to be necessarily a positive review. I really think that these adaptations failed in general as adaptations, which I will go into. So if you love them and you don't want to hear negative thoughts about them, that is totally cool. If you do not agree with me at all and you think that they're wonderful adaptations, also totally cool. This is just my opinion on them and my thoughts on them. So if you don't want to watch that, I will not be offended if you click off. Please don't leave hate for me in the comments below just because I don't like something that you like. These are entirely personal opinions. So the reason why I think that these failed as an adaptation is because I think that they lost the integrity of the book. I think Jackson made a huge mistake in splitting such a small book into 3 movies. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just so grateful we got more Middle-earth, and that's really cool. But I think that it lost the message of the story, and that's my main issue with the adaptations. And I love adaptations. I think Jackson did a fantastic job on Lord of the Rings. Definitely kept the integrity of the story. It streamlined the process. Like, yes, I would have loved to see Tom Bombadil in Lord of the Rings, but I also understand that that is not an essential part of the story. And I understand that adaptations do have to change some of the features. Some of my favorite adaptations include the 2005 Pride and Prejudice version. There are some things in there that are not in the book at all, but I am willing to overlook that. The first Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I think was very well done. I think the adaptation of Anna Karenina with Keira Knightley was also rather fantastic, especially because I just finished reading it and I've actually seen the movie before, but I need to rewatch that. Lots of things like that. I'm not against adaptation, but for me, what I think is really important about adaptation is that it holds true to the integrity of the story, and I think the Hobbit movies are really lacking that. Yeah, I think changes made to Thranduil's character especially really bothered me. They kind of made the characters really two-dimensional. And some things I really liked. I really like how they handled Thorin's gold sickness. I thought that that was well done. But things like, what really bothers me is in the books, Bilbo decides to stand in the Battle of Five Armies with Thranduil because he thinks he is the epitome of an excellent king. You don't get that in the movies, and I think that that's really unfortunate. They paint Thranduil and the Woodland Elves as these really racist and prejudiced people. And especially when they're talking about going to the dwarves, the difference between long will I tarry before I start this war for gold, which I think is actually the exact quote that Thranduil uses in the Hobbit book, versus will attack at dawn. Huge difference in character development there. And I think that that really made the movie, it made the movie not as palatable to me. Another thing, I really didn't enjoy Bjorn's characterization. I thought he became non-essential, and Bjorn and the Eagles are the reason why they won the battle, and the friendship between Bjorn and the dwarves he was barely mentioned, and I think he's a really essential character. I think not understanding the Eagles as well. I think there could have definitely been more interaction with the Eagles at the end of the first movie, if I'm not mistaken. That's when they were first introduced. Because in the books you understand why they dropped them on the top of this giant rock and just leave them there. Whereas in the books you're like, well, why didn't they just fly them over Mirkwood? And that's explained in the books a lot better. So that's just some of the small nitpicky things. One of the major issues I have is with the character Toriel, and don't get me wrong. I think Toriel could have been a really fantastic character. I understand that it is 2012, 2013, 2014 when these movies came out, and it is not acceptable to have a movie completely devoid of female characters. I agree with that. Side note, despite the fact that they invent female characters entirely for this movie to make it more acceptable, they still don't pass a Bechdel test. Just gonna put that out there. You have all these extra female characters that you've added in for the sake of having female characters, but they don't talk to each other. They don't have conversations with each other, and I think that really drives me crazy. My main issues with Toriel as a character is that she's a failure, essentially. She is captain of the guard, which is awesome. Totally cool. Except for when you're captain of the guard, you kind of just have a job of protecting your king and your crown prince, which she doesn't do. She completely abandons her king, and she leads her crown prince directly into danger, knowingly, and abandons him. I take a lot of issue with this. If you're gonna have a strong female character, don't make her really bad at her job. Yeah, that was one of my major issues with Toriel as a character. She was kind of a failure for me. And Bard's children basically don't, other than like his son running around and killing some orcs, his daughters just scream. They don't do anything. They don't even talk to each other. I think they say one word to each other, but their main concern is where their dad is and where their brother is. And I get that that's, you know, ongoing, but you could have had them doing stuff and being more essential to the plot, and I think that would have been a great addition, and that just drove me a little crazy. Another thing that drives me crazy about Toriel's character is the fact that she can heal. In Tolkien's lore, to those of you who are not giant nerds and haven't read the Silmarillion and haven't read the appendices, basically if you're an elf, you can be really good at killing or really good at healing. You can't really be both because they're contrary to each other. She's a warrior. That is her lifestyle. She's a warrior. So the fact that she can heal Keely, yeah, that's a little problematic for me, but that's nitpicking a little bit, so I'm willing to overlook that in this adaptation. Another thing that really bothered me, and this is, if you're watching this, huge spoiler alert. It's in Fili, Keely, and Thorin's deaths. In the books, they die defending their uncle, and this is really important, and this is really important to me because I've actually written papers on this, with the Anglo-Saxon tradition of nephew-uncle relations being really important, even over father-uncle relations. Tolkien definitely draws from Anglo-Saxon traditions in this, and they completely disregarded this entirely. And especially in Fili's death, he had the most, like, I don't even know how to say this. Like, it basically didn't have an impact at all. Like, his death was 2 seconds. He is the crown prince. He is Thorin's heir. And he has a 2-second death. But Fili, because he's quote unquote the more attractive elf and the one who has the love story, gets like a 5-minute death. And it just, that really bothered me. And I don't think that the portrayal of Thorin not really valuing their deaths, like, at least to me it seemed like their deaths weren't valued, and that really bothered me. The whole thing with Azog, honestly guys, Azog died at Moria. Just gonna point this out for those of you who don't know. In the appendices, he is killed by Dane at Moria. So he shouldn't even be in this. It's Bolg who should be the main villain. The fact that they like resurrected him or whatever, it just, yeah, that really bothered me. A lot of the stunts that were done, Legolas, aka Defying Gravity, like, I felt like Elphaba should just pop up and start singing that song when he's doing the dumb thing with the rocks. Like, that was just put in for the sake of action, and I think that's essentially what is wrong with these movies over Lord of the Rings, is that it values action over the narrative tale. And when I say I think it lacks the integrity as an adaptation of the book, what I mean is that in the book, this is a quest narrative. This is a story of Bilbo going and finding himself and becoming the Hobbit that he is at the end of the book. It is not so in the movies. Despite the fact that they are called The Hobbit, the focus is not on Bilbo. It is not on his character development. A lot of things, especially in the second movie, that drove me crazy is that moments where it was Bilbo's turn to shine, Bilbo's turn to develop as a character with the spiders, that they had the elves come in. That was in the books entirely Bilbo. Bilbo is the one who saved them, and you know, he does get some things. Also Thorin coming in when he's talking to Smaug. He goes in repeatedly to talk to Smaug in the books, and like that's huge for him. He's terrified, but he does it anyways. And the movies lacked that character development. And that's one of the main issues I have with them, is that they lacked the integrity of the books and they lacked the basic message of the books, where I think Lord of the Rings didn't as an adaptation. So yeah, I was really unhappy with these movies. I probably won't watch it again. The first movie I was really happy with when I initially saw it in theaters. I think I saw it something like 4 times, which is crazy. And the second movie I only saw once in theaters, and I just rewatched it for the first time the other night before I went and saw Desolation of Smaug in anticipation of filming this video. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Hobbit movie. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and I will see you guys later on. Bye.